All right, multiplying by base 10. This is nice. So what you're going to do is you're going to take all the non-zero digits as far to the left as you can go anyways. And those are the numbers you're actually going to multiply. So any of the zeros to the right of the non-zero digits, we're going to set those aside essentially, okay? And once we get our product of the non-zero digits, we just tack those zeros that we set aside onto that product. So it says add the number of zeros from the factors. That's what I mean by that. Now, if you get any zeros between non-zero numbers, you do not set those ones aside. It's only to the ones to the right of the rightmost non-zero number. So they're used in step one. Yeah, these types of zeros are used up in the multiplication. We actually do need to multiply those ones. So to help that make sense, let's look at some of these problems right here. So this is 34 times 100. Now again, since we're multiplying by base 10, which is 100 in this case, I would look at the zeros right there. And I got two zeros, okay? Now I'm going to set these aside for now. And of course, you could tag them onto the answer right now if you'd like. But I'm just going to set them aside. So what that means is it changes the multiplication problem then into 34 times 1. Well, that's a much easier multiplication problem because anything times 1 is itself, just like we've said. So that's 34 right there. And that's the product of 34 and 1, but I'm going to take the two zeros that I set aside now and tack them onto the answer, which then makes this 3,400. So I'm going to set those four zeros from the 10,000 aside, essentially. I'm kind of putting them aside in my mind. And rewriting this now without the zeros, it may be more helpful to see this, right? And so I got 46 times 1. Anything times 1 is itself. That's a nice property, which makes that 46. But I can't forget about the zeros that I do need to tack onto the 46. There are four zeros. And again, since they were farthest to the right of our non-zero numbers, they need to go to the far right of this number as well. I got four zeros there, and this gives us a product of 460,000. So this one works the same way. It's just that now our first factor has zeros as well. And that's okay if the first factor does as well. So how many zeros am I going to set aside? I got this 1 0 farthest to the right, and then these two as well. Now before I was saying, we're going to set those aside and then add them on to or tack them onto the answer later. But what you can do is you can put those in the answer right now and then find the multiplication and then tack that onto the zeros. It doesn't really matter which one you do first. So if I do it this way, then it still gives me 4 times 11. And 4 groups of 11, if we go back to the table, that would show us a product of 44. I mean, it's nice to have that memorized, but 4 times 11 is 44. So I tack that onto the zeros, which then makes this 44,000. So that's how we multiply with base 10 values. Again, you're just looking for any zeros at the end. And, it doesn't matter if our leading number here is a 5 or a 1 or a 2. I mean, it can be 0, right? Because then it's just something times lots of zeros, which is still 0, but we shouldn't see anything like that. So that's how we multiply with base 10s.